So I think of all the cars that have been taken up in the Restomod space, it's got to be, excuse me, 911, right?
Yeah, which is kind of ironic in its own sense because we've all driven a lot of 911s, maybe not that many older ones, but they're all brilliant. And so you think, in one way, it's like, okay, well, of course they're not all, the old.
Hold on a minute.
Old, yeah.
I'm going to be controversial here.
Yeah.
A modern day, I'm going to say, I'm going to scratch at 996, but post 997, they are all pretty spot on. Before that, there were some ropey ones.
Oh,
right?
993, very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, 96, and ironically, 964, I think was, and 964 values, nobody wanted, 964s nobody cared about, nobody wanted until, I don't know if it was Magnus so much because
he did earlier because he was doing like 70s, late 60s, 70s.
It was until Singer, and then suddenly, because that's why theirs were all based on 964s originally, weren't they? And so all of a sudden, guess what? 964s, even ones that are basically scrap value, got big value because you talked about it over lunch. Because suddenly it's like you buy a horrible bungalow that's falling over and spend a fortune on it. Why? Because it's on a plot of land that has got loads of amazing potential to build a really nice bungalow or house on afterwards. It's the same with these, isn't it? You're buying the skeleton, you're buying that VIN number, whether it's a 964, whatever. So that's a whole nother conversation, but it's really interesting because it's making some of these models that weren't so popular, that weren't so great back in the day, but suddenly these used, tattered old things are worth an absolute fortune because they are the donor cars that you hand over to someone like Singer or less so.
I mean, there's so many. We were going through just the 911 ones. Obviously, Singer's the top of the tree, but you've got Rensport, Rough, Tuthill,
Autofarm.
Autofarm. Shout out to Autofarm.
Yeah.
Hopefully, going to come and do some stuff with you.
Yeah.
So there's loads and loads of them, but some of them, they're like the spectrum of. Some of them just make it a better car in terms of sorting out the suspension, modern set of brakes.
Yep.
Tweaking the engine and then tidying everything up so it looks nice.
Yeah.
But if you were to look at some of them, the detailing, when you open up the engine bay and the engines, they don't look anything like the engine did in the 911.
No, they're completely
They've got these trumpets and all this beautiful stuff on it. But the thing that I don't know whether it's just going too far. There's almost too much choice, and the cost of some of them. And I'm gonna mention Theon because it was a car that I looked at Salon Preview. I thought it was a beautiful Targa, looked amazing, great colour. Tracy just loved it. Absolutely. We were talking about it on the way home. She said, that car was so lovely. And I went, yeah, that's going to be a lot of money though. I think that's going to be £250,000. She's like, really? I went, yeah, I mean, they're expensive, those Restomods. Next day I'm back there and I get chatting to the guy from Theon and the car. I went, beautiful car, that detailing's amazing. I said, how much do they start at? £250? He went, 5. £500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
But
then,
and
that compared with the Singers, cheap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because now you can't buy a Singer for less than £1 million, and if you actually want one yourself, you're going to have to buy a DLS or a DLS Turbo, and they're like, we're talking millions at that point. But I think there's another point as well we missed maybe, and this might help us kind of define modifications to Restomods, is a lot of the Porsche stuff I think also spawned out of the fact that people like the classic ones.
Yeah.
I own a classic one. It's nothing but a massive headache. Like, my car doesn't work. The gearbox is broken. Even though I just rebuilt the engine. So the classic cars aren't really that usable.
Yeah.
However, you can backdate a 964 or a 993 or whatever base car you want. Autofarm do this. This is what Singer does as well. A Singer car looks like a wide-body modified 70s car, but the car's from like the 80s or the 90s. Like, it's so I think a part of restomodding as well is taking a very usable, much more reliable car and making it look like a cool classic that you wish you could just buy the classic base car in the first place, but you'd never be able to use it.
It's almost like putting all your dream ingredients together, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you look at a Singer, like you said, it's the most beautiful looking Porsche that kind of never existed.
Yeah. And that's why they're called Reimagined by Singer.
Yeah.
Because that is effectively what they do. They take what is a great base car or has a huge audience and then rebuilds that into something that Porsche could never have made because they don't have a time machine. They can't.
But then you do get Porsche also, like modern day Porsche, things like, what was the Sport Classic? And I know the original Sport Classic was theirs, But it's also, I think, and Porsche would probably not admit this, but I think it has opened this special market for them. So they can throw a sport classic on the market for 300 grand or whatever it was, and people won't even bat an eyelid. If they'd done that a few years ago, like the original sport classic, people were like, I remember they couldn't sell the original.
Why would you have one of
what was
those?
it, 2010 or something back then? So we're only talking 15 years ago. Everyone was like, oh no, what, you're going to spend an extra 50 grand just to have a duct? Oh no. But now what are they worth? £500,000 or something. And I think you look at things like the ST, there's no way that the ST would have been made and developed unless there was this whole crazy Restomod scene going on where people happily go, there's £2 million or euros or whatever. I think Porsche, and they haven't done it, in my opinion, they haven't done it to take the piss with pricing. They are expensive, but they've done it still at a, you look at an ST and I don't know what they retail at, 250, 260.
Yeah,
I think before, obviously you can't pick one up like that for now, but you look at it and you think, well, I can see where the 200 grand's gone in that. Like that is worth it for sure. I mean, getting one is another thing altogether, but it is interesting that it's forced, or not forced, but it's showing the manufacturers, the original people, Porsche, that actually we can make some really cool modern stuff and put some tax on it, and people are going to buy it because.
And I think that's where a lot of manufacturers will have to go. We talk about electric cars a lot, and they're all like the same platform, right? And you just put a different body on top.
Yeah.
But like that's what cars used to be like back in the day.
Yeah.
You get a Rolls Royce engine and like framework, and then you go get the Mulliner Park Ward body put on top of it.
Yep.
And so
there's full circle.
And so there's no reason why, like, is it called Cindervash? What's the Porsche bespoke? It's called Cinder something.
Oh, out at Stuttgart where they.
So there's no reason why they can't be like, okay, well, we can do a backdate 992.
Yeah.
Because they're Porsche, so they can do whatever they like.
Yes.
And they can say, do you want a GT3 like touring, but it looks like a 996? I mean, I'm not saying anybody wants that, but they can do whatever they like. It's Porsche, right?
Yeah.
So, but that'll be like a one-off car. It's €1 million, and if Singer can charge €1 million, then so can Porsche.
Of course.
And like they haven't done it yet, but I can see in this electric world where everything, like I said, it is a platform.
Yeah.
You can build whatever you want. And actually, remembering about some of the conversations I had, Pininfarina are doing exactly that now.
Yep.
So Pininfarina Automobili, so the car side, not the design side, they have that platform, which is based off a Rimac, I think, that electric hypercar platform.
Yep.
And the designer was explaining they've had a Targa car made as a one-off for a customer. And they said, as long as it is within like the crush regulations and the country's regulations, you can pretty much ask them to do whatever you like.
Yeah.
And they will redesign it on top of that platform as long as it's all roughly the same, whatever you want. And this one customer said, I want a Targa car. They made a one-off Targa car. Now that costs a lot of money, but that's a very top-end example. But I can't see why other manufacturers for an extra 50 or 100 grand.
What Jensen Button and Ensid have done with Radford.
Yeah.
They've just gone to Lotus and they basically coach built a body on top of a Lotus.